Okay, so this is a Legends of Arkain faction tier list. So I have to decide how I want to do these, because the way that I did the character one was a little inconsistent. There were some cases where I was like, yeah, I like this character, and then there were others where I was like, yeah, this character is important. And I don't know how we can be more consistent with the factions, because I was thinking I could do, like, I could do, like, a morality scale versus, like, how much I like them. But I think we'll just do, like, just a straight-up rating relative to one another. Hey, TTB. Why are there so many factions? Because it's Legends of Arkain. Call 3/4 of these. I think of this list, there are 2 or 3 that are definitely gone. We'll go over those. Let's get started, though. The Ardaz Nexus. Actual bad people. This is the Nexus. Dude, I'm caught up on my Nexuses. I previously didn't know who any of the Nexuses are, and now I know who they all are. Okay? The Ardaz Nexus is Galareth the Great doing weird experiments and making bizarre constructs and stuff. Not to be confused with the Ajara Nexus, which is more about, like, enslaving races. Ardaz Nexus is, like, hacking things apart and putting them back together. So maybe, like, I'm not sure if Flesh Terror would be Ardaz or if it would be Ajara. That's one I guess I'm not so sure about. Whereas Icewind Clan, exactly. So Ardaz Nexus, I gotta say, they give the undead a bad look. They really do. You know what, Shar? What? I'll drag you in. I'll place everything, and if you're still here, again, then we can drag you in. Ardaz Nexus is like, I think this gives them a bad name. Anyway, S tier's sliced bread as usual. A tier is like, I'm deciding how I want to name these. Obviously, there's still the Sass tier. A tier is, I hope they win. F tier is like... I was gonna say non-existent. But... That's fine, we can keep it F tier. There doesn't need to be a who is this tier anymore, because I legitimately now know everybody. So, for the Ardaz Nexus, I think this is like straight like D or E. This is tough because they're the first one, right? We're gonna have to juggle some of these around. The Ardaz Nexus, again, I think they give the undead a bad name, though Eredon does a pretty good job doing that himself. But like, Ardaz, I think, are like legitimate awful torturers, you know? So, like, relative to the other undead nexuses, I think they go pretty low. Granted, they make some pretty cool units, but at what cost? F-tier's underdogs. Bear Regiment? I think Bear Regiment, maybe I misinterpreted this, but I feel like the most exposure we get to Bear Regiment... I got Bear and Boar Regiment confused when I played Pride of the Empire at one point, but... Bear Regiment... I get the feeling that this guy, or the regiment, or at least the guy who leads it, is kind of incompetent. Because again, there is that period when Selly or Cleavehand gets his senses back, and he's like, no, we're gonna stay and defend, and then he goes to Bear Guy, and he's like, wait, so are we ready? And Bear Guy's just like, no. No, we're not. So I get the impression Bear Regiment's kind of not ready, and a little incompetent. Now, the other thing about Bear Regiment is they were the main Imperial faction, I think, or like the pre-placed faction in the original Pride of the Empire. And all their units, when they exploded, they didn't rebuild, but all their buildings spawned units. Now, I think in Pride of the Empire, the new version, every building spawns units of every regiment. But I feel like just because they used to be the only ones that do that, I think they actually go kind of low. I think Bear Regiment is a D or an E tier. They also have those giant werebears. And I like the name Werebear, so that definitely kicks them up a little bit. Bear Regiment just got screwed over. Got it. And they no longer exist, if I'm being, just to be clear. I don't think there's any of them left. Black Razor Clan? Yo. Black Razor Clan, biggest minor clan. Legitimate, difficult enemy to defeat by themselves in Rise of the Clans. Bear Regiment is too incompetent to build units, exactly. What's up, Jericho? Black Razor Clan is the like the tip-top minor clan, to the point where as when you're playing as Blood Drinker Clan and you subjugate the other clans, they're all so afraid of Black Razor Clan that as you destroy their town halls, they spawn like 10 units to beeline straight for Black Razor. That's how scared everybody is of the Black Razor Clan, okay? Undead werebears, that would be cool. Black Razor Clan, I think, legitimately goes pretty high. Also the home of Ishzog. Who is like a Brian proselytizer. So I think Ishzog is like an Amari plant. I don't know why she chose to put someone in the Black Razor Clan, but they're pretty scary. So I think Black Razor gets a solid B. Maybe a C. We'll reconsider. The Blood Drinker Legion. Headed by none other than Ornasian the Destroyer. But look, there can only be one the Destroyer, and Ornasian didn't make the cut, okay? He didn't make the cut. How do we want to place the... Excuse me. How do we want to place the Demon Legions? Because here's the thing. Blood Drinker Legion... wait, is Kezar Nexus on here? Yeah, okay, so the Undead Blood Drinker Legion is a separate faction. So we're only talking about the living Blood Drinker Legion. Blood Drinker Legion is not that scary. There aren't too many missions where you have to, like, wipe them out or they cause you a ton of problems. I want to say that in Bloodbath, you're playing as the Undead, and in many ways, the Undead, like, your allies can kind of win by themselves. And I think the idea there is, like, the Undead are so powerful and have such a large army, but it's sort of kept hidden, that the Undead could win pretty much any conflict so long as they stay united in any circumstance. That's kind of how I interpreted the Bloodbath mission. How does that make me feel about the Blood Drinker Legion? I mean, they're sort of, you know, rubes. They get used by Cursadar. Hey, Sizz. Hey, Sizz DS. I think Blood Drinker kind of goes in this middling tier. It's weird to say that D is middling. The Blood Hand Clan? Look, it's difficult for me to try to think about the Blood Hand Clan separate from the Destroyer. So, like, how I rate the Blood Hand Clan cannot be relative to how I rate the Destroyer, I suppose. But they all follow him. Look, I hope they win. I don't know how else I could say it. Bloodhand Clan, Destroyer. J Destroyer Simp. What do you know about that? Why is the Destroyer not a hero? Shar has never definitively answered this question, so I don't know for sure. My guess... We'll bring a Shar in when we create the tier list, and he can help me kind of move stuff around. He destroyed hero rank. I think maybe the plotline is leading to a point where he will, like, become a hero. You know what I mean? It's like a meta thing. Maybe? I don't know for sure. Or maybe there just wasn't a satisfying enough separate model to use for him, because currently he's an orc champion. He also has so much health that I'm pretty sure he could kill any other actual hero if he wanted to. Thug Life tier list for Bloodhand Clan. So the reason I have Bloodhand Clan is I hope they win is because they're the underdog 0 to hero, right? They're like kind of the stupid orcs in a way. They just mindlessly follow whoever is strongest. And I hope they can overcome that. And that's why I have them in the I hope they win tier. I want them to be able to join the tribal dominion and be chill. Same for the destroyer, but we don't know what's gonna happen, alright? Bloodhand Clan in True Story seems the most normal of the orc clans. All they want to do is fight. Yeah, exactly. So I guess from that perspective, in their current iteration, I don't hope they win. But I hope that they turn into something a little different, and then I hope they win. You know? Who wins, Destroyer or Gardon? I think in almost every hero matchup of a player-controlled hero, not like the AI heroes that have insanely higher health, I think the Destroyer wins almost every 1v1. Bloodstone Dwarves? Look. We don't have much experience with the Bloodstone Dwarves. The Dwarves in general, I think, end up helping either Red Fist or the Golden Guard. The Bloodstone Dwarves, I think, join Red Fist, don't they? And also, Organ is a dick. He's a dickhead when you have to fight against him in possession. I know Pie Scythe is got my back on this one, okay? Bloodhand's made for fighting and winning. Oh yeah, that's true, lifesteal. In like a 1v1 straight up. Because, yeah, the Destroyer doesn't have any burst damage. He's just got a lot of survivability. Bloodstone Dwarves... I like how they have those units that have the chaos damage. It's hard because I'm thinking like, okay, when I've played against the Bloodstone Dwarves, I've hated them, but when I've been able to use them in a limited fashion, I've enjoyed them. Like when they send you reinforcements in Green Wave. And I think Green Wave is probably one of the best missions from the first book era. In the True Story, for sure. I'm going to give them a C. I'm going to give them a C for now. Boar Regiment, look. I hate you. You go into Sass tier, Boar Regiment. And let me explain why. Because there were like 2 or 3 orc missions where randomly these asshole cloaked invisible boar jerks were just around. They didn't really have an objective. They were just hanging out and would just pop out of nowhere and make you fight them for an like they're really tanky too, so it took a long time to kill them. I hate them. Does anyone have any Boar Regiment lore that I could use? Or we'll put that on the docket to speak with Shar about. But does anyone have any Boar Regiment lore that maybe could bump them up? I just hate them because they're there seemingly to just annoy you, to harass you, and give you a problem. I thought for a while that they were like almost like the intelligence regiment, because they were invisible. But then I learned that it turns out that like they were just a big part of the First Void War, and then they just sort of dispersed and now hunt wild animals randomly around Arkain. You know? Lore, boars. Bull Regiment. Yo, Bull Regiment's another one where they're great to play as and a nightmare to play against. I think Bull Regiment's sort of in this C or B category. I would put Bull Regiment in the C category. I think they're a great faction to play as I said, I like their units. The whole idea is they just have a lot of really tanky frontliners, which again is also very difficult to play against. I'm curious to see what the surviving regiments are going to do in the second book time frame. All right, I'm gonna go onto Hive Workshop, and I'm going to look up the Boar Regiment. I'm gonna look up the Boar Regiment lore, okay? The Boar Regiment. Boars are dangerous to attack as those wearing their name. After the First Void War, when Imperials became the de facto rulers of the kingdoms, they realized that the kingdoms, due to many centuries of conflict and infighting, had severely neglected their lands in favor of other petty concerns. Both wild animals and monsters alike were roaming the countryside, and the royal forces were too depleted to deal with them. Imperials assembled hunting parties to take down the beasts. The orcs were also a constant threat. I was right. The orc clans were added as a form of beast to be hunted by Tarm Lutheran. Lutheran assembled and coordinated hunting parties all over the kingdoms and removed not only the wild animals and beasts, but also the orcs. This sounds like they're going to be important in the second orc book era of the true story for sure. Like, similar to, like, a Derek. Derek and Redfist basically is like, there are these different factions who only exist to, like, hunt the orc clans. Tarm Lutheran being promoted to general was more of a formality than anything else. He already had the respect and the forces to be equal to a general in all things, with the exception of rank. He's an honorable hunter who protects the Empire and its colonies, as he calls the kingdoms, much to the dismay of its nobles. Oh, the colonies. He calls the kingdoms colonies. Okay, we've never seen the Boar Regiment really in force, but I think I was kind of right. They're supposed to kind of be sneaky assholes who are there to disrupt anything they consider to be wild beasts and sort of corral them in. So again, kind of similar to Derek's faction in that way. And look, I'm a pretty big fan of the orcs in general. Unashamedly. I know we've got some like real big orc stans in chat, but we've also got some orc haters in chat for sure. Excuse me. I was at a friend's house last night who has a cat. Love the friend, love the cat, but the next day got some allergy issues. I think even reading that, it just reaffirms that Boar Regiment is in the sass tier. Just because I'm an orc stan, I'll say it straight up, and because Boar Regiment seemingly exists to harry the orcs, and not just like a we're gonna fight you, but like in a we're gonna be assholes about it. Boar Regiment goes in the sass tier. They act 100% as intended in-game. Gotcha. I am very allergic to cats, yes. I'm a Destroyer stan. I mean, I put Amari and Brian were in my sliced bread category of the faction tier. Someone also asked if I'll redo the character tier list after the true story is complete. Absolutely, of course. Because there were a bunch of characters that we just didn't have enough time with when we did it the first time. So they either got placed in who is this category or just somewhere completely wrong. The Centaurs, maligned minority of Salria, constantly being hunted down by the nobles, but some of the normal people seem to think that they're okay, right? I think Centaurs probably go in this, like, B category. Again, I'm a Tribal Dominion stan, so, like, a lot of these factions that get involved, I think the Centaurs, they're in that... In fact, I'd almost say the Centaurs, I hope they win, again, just because they kind of have been just getting shat on for super long, and they deserve the representation that they get in the Tribal Dominion, you know? Do you think Lorgoth will be high tier for their burn on the Watcher at the epilogue of the Undead book? You mean the end of the second Undead book? I don't think that changes my rating of him. The Cliffhunter clan. They're fine. I think Cliffhunter clan... It's the ladies, it's the orc ladies, the exiled ladies. You know, I realized, too, Okri is a newer member of the Cliffhunter clan than I originally thought, because Destroyer only killed the Bloodhand clan's chieftain and family around Rise of the Clans, right? Which means that's when Okri was exiled, which means that's when she joined Cliffhunter. So pretty long after Amari created it. I would say Cliffhunter is just a solid B. If only because the orc clans in general, I think, kind of get reorganized into one amorphous blob. Or at least they used to. I'm kind of curious, actually, this is a big question I'd have for Shar, is if the plan is... I mean, maybe I don't want this answer, because that would ruin the surprise. Is what's going to happen with the orc clans? Are they going to stay relatively separate, or is it just going to become, again, the amorphous blob of orcs that becomes the brown faction of Tribal Dominion, you know? Amazonian orcs, that's a good, yeah. It's hard for me to say Cliff Hunter and Centaur would even be on different tiers for that reason. I think maybe Centaurs would go here. For that. I think these two kind of need to be on the same playing field. I'm not so sure. Derek's Mercenaries? Look, Logan is in Derek's Mercenaries, right? So, like, while I would probably put Derek's Mercenaries, like, in the E tier, they get to at least D because Logan is a subset, and Logan's a bro, right? It's not brown, it's coal? Is it really? Am I crazy? Yeah, you're right. It is. It's like a gray, yeah. Amari equals Wonder Woman. Dark Elf families. I don't know if I've heard them referred to as families before. The Dark Elves seem to have a lot of problems. A lot of problems. My understanding, I feel like this is a set of lore that I don't know that much about. Eredon created them and then just sort of sealed them away. And then around second Undead Book time, which we're coming up on here in the true story, is he, I guess, decides he's got to go and let them out so they'll help him because the demons have pushed through the Imperials, so now Dead Mountain's kind of under siege. So he's got to send his minions crawling through tunnels to go and get some help. I think that's the story of why he goes and is like, hey, we need to let these ladies out. Are they all ladies? But they all seem awful. Like, they all hate each other. They're constantly, bickering for power and stuff. And I think even Largoth mentions, he's like, hey, Eredon, the Dark Elves kind of just reflect you. They're your creation, and look how shitty they are. And which I thought was a sick burn, if you ask me. A sick burn. So peaceful they made Peacemaker. Dude, Peacemaker's a great show, by the way, on HBO Max. If you have HBO, Peacemaker is a delightful show. Okay, Dark Elf families. Look, I think this is going to be my first E tier. Nobody's made it quite to F. I think there's honestly maybe too many tiers. I don't even know who would go in F. But I think Dark Elf families is pretty low. If only because the only major experience I have with them is having to, like, put down rebellions and then killing them in the first human book. Dude, shots fired by Chen La. Darkmine clan? I guess it kind of depends on what point in time, but it doesn't really. Because the Darkmine clan doesn't really ever change. They just sort of brainlessly follow Wrath. A small part of them leave with Lokar, at least. A small portion of them leave with Lokar, so, like, the cavalry orc faction can still survive in the future, which is nice. I like that little touch in the second orc book. We'll see what happens in True Story. But Darkmine clan, they try to unite the clans themselves. They fail. They get wiped out in, like, a pretty awful way. And then Rangul saves them. Wrath is indebted to him, so he helps him, but Wrath's mindset never really changes. This is the same as how I rated Wrath when I did my character list. They're mad, but they're justifiably mad. The question is, it's kind of like, does hate beget hate? Violence begets violence. I think there are some factions that manage to at least partially overcome that, which endear them to me, and there are some that just let it destroy them, and that's what happened to the Darkmine clan. And for that reason, I would put Darkmind Clan at like a D tier. In terms of their tech, I like that it's unique in that it's like a cavalry faction. And again, I think it's important. I liked how, again, this is just my personal opinion because I'm a sucker for this. I like how at least some of them left with Lokars so that there's like, there's still some faction of that cavalry that could be like retrained as part of Tribal Dominion as well. Darkmind Clan is sliced bread. The thing is just, again, it's completely subjective. How I rate factions, like I said, is this, like, the whole thing in Arkain is people trying to get revenge, and I think in some cases, when people don't let that completely consume them, even if they don't have to be, like, completely redeemed or anything, and they have to become monks where, like, they completely let everything go. But the Darkmind Clan in general is completely consumed by their need for revenge to the point where it just destroys them. So, for that reason, I rate them low. Some other people might like that. As, like, a story element, some people would love that. But, you know, I guess I would put that a little lower. But I think Darkmind Clan is a great element in Arkain, at the very least. I think they're a great element, they're a needed element. But on a subjective level, I sort of hate that Wrath refuses to let it go. But it kind of has to be that way. The Death Breeze Clan. Excuse me. Home to Grofzag and everybody's favorite orc, Efrog, of course. Vanessa. They do really need to find some clues. Deathbreeze Clan, I think, is pretty neat. They're kind of like a middle of the road, though. I would put Deathbreeze Clan in C tier. They're just doing what orcs do. They're getting everyone together, and they say, we're going to go and pillage everybody. It's going to be great. Frog Hero when. Sasrogarn is also in the Deathbreeze Clan, which I guess maybe puts them here, right? Demon slaves. The fact that they're called slaves is a kind of a big clue that they probably go like here. Right? There's a short story, I think it's called Lord in the North or something, that seems to try to be characterizing the demon slaves as if there's maybe something going on with them they're more than they seem. But again, they're literally called demon slaves. I think the concept of, like, the demons being more than they appear to be is interesting, which means, by extension, the demon slaves, or people that choose to, like, maybe that, you know, they've, for whatever reason, rather than being completely subjugated, they choose to follow the demons because they see something from the demon's perspective that we, the audience, don't even see yet, I think is an interesting idea. But I think I'm reaching with that. I don't think that's real. Is my point. So, by extension, I think demon slaves are just they just go in F tier. All right. With the character tier list, Genethys got pretty high up there because he was on that Sigma grind set, as the kids say today, where he managed to, like, trick everybody, and I think that was awesome. So he got a high rank, but the demon slaves themselves all rank low. Why am I on voice chat alone? It looks so sad. That's because when I'm done with this, I'll drag Shar in so he can rate my tier list. I think I need to, like, shift everything up. You know? Like, I think there's too many tiers. Can I just remove a tier? I don't think I have the capability of removing a tier. Dragon Regiment. Dragon Regiment's got a lot of cool units, but I didn't play from their perspective in A Fresh Breeze, and when I did play against them in Pride of the Empire, they were the hardest faction, I think, to beat. He does not let me in. Dude, I'm vibing. I'm making my list. I can't have you affecting my judgment, Shar. Well, I'll have you come in and you can give me the lowdown when it's all said and done. Um, Dragon Regiment. I kind of hate them. If only because they have a cool tech tree, but when you have to fight against them, they're really rough. Then Ramirez dies. So all's well that ends well. You can remove a tier. Again, I'm clicking on it. It does not let me remove the tier. That's okay. It's okay. Is Jara Nexus? I struggle to decide whether the Ajara Nexus is better or worse than Ardaz. I think it's arguably a little better, but not by much. So for that reason, we put it here. Cool. The thing with these two is they have a cool tech tree. In fact, I would put Ijara a little higher just because I think that their units are a lot more interesting. Oh, you know what it is, Shar? I probably put your old... It's probably because I gave access to your old account to Team Dream Team. Almost definitely. No, that's you. That's weird. Yeah, that's you. Huh. I don't know. It's the same profile pics. Okay. Again, I could just drag you in. The Elven Kingdom. Elven Kingdom's got its problems. They get amuleted into helping Gardon, and their best warriors get retrained into Iron Fist. I think Elven Kingdom goes here. Even when they sort of reform, they still have people in their ranks that are all kind of stupid. Dude, interesting thing. Shar let... You know, I didn't even realize this, but he said that the color of the main rebel guy in Defensive Home being yellow was intentional, which means that maybe when they were called demons, you know, they were like demon slaves in a way, but they maybe were a slave of Monocle Dreadlord for whatever reason. We don't know what his aims and goals are, but I think that was kind of an interesting thing. And it goes to show, I think, the little details that Shar tends to put in these maps are really neat. And it's almost always, I should say, I don't know 100%, I can't make the judgment, but from my perspective, it almost always seems to be purposeful, and I really appreciate that. The Empire of Rodan. So I guess this is like all the non-regiment forces. I feel like almost all my experience with these folks are that they're kind of dumb. That it seems like the non-regiment forces ended up siding with Janithus. But this is a pretty broad. Because obviously not all of them, but when we actually fight that specific gray faction, they side with Janithus. But there's more of them. This is tough. I think the Empire is, frankly, kind of in like a D tier because they're just a mess. They're just a mess. They come to help the kingdoms, but the reality is they came to colonize the kingdoms. Falcon Regiment. I love Avine's portrait here. This red-eyed Avine. This is Jay Barino on his way to the Arkain forums to start some drama. Okay, Falcon Regiment. She's got beasts and birds and such. So like they're not as cool as the Dragon Regiment, but Avine's got some interesting stuff going on in the background. It seems like she's related to the royal family of Rodan. I don't know. This is one where, even less so than the Dragon Regiment, it's like we don't have enough. It's like I can't decide. I think she's like perfectly middle of the road. Falcon Regiment is Ka? I think Falcon Regiment gets a C for sure. That's like yeah, you're cool. You're fine. The elemental orders. I like that these are all put together and it wasn't just Order of the Flame. I think these belong decently high, if only because they're really interesting and unique. So, like, Elemental Order probably gets to go up in one of these. I like how the True Story and the second books introduced more orders. So, like, we've seen Lightning Order, we've seen Earth Order, and I think both of those actually were completely wiped out. I don't know if they're, like, entirely gone and they were, like, ever absorbed into some other group, but I think they were just completely gone. Which leaves Fire Order. I don't know if there's, like, a Water Order, because we get Hydromancers, don't we, as Iron Fist? So that implies that there's a Water Order as well? Who knows? There could be others as well. Forgotten Ones. So these were creations of the Dark One that got sealed away. And I think, honestly, they probably just go down here. The Forgotten Ones are apparently buildable as the Ardaz Nexus if you pick them in Bloodbath, which is neat. I like that. I did not play as Ardaz Nexus, though. So you wouldn't have seen that, but I wanted to let you know, in case you didn't know. I think they just get a straight F, because they are just completely detached from reality before they're subjugated by Eredon. The Ragazar Order, the Zaragar Order, the Gezarar Order. What do we know about these people? I think that they exist to kind of become goons for Edale, which is good because she needed that. And the backstory is that they're like a subset of paladins from the Empire, not the kingdoms, but are also like slavers, or they were slavers, and then now they're a paladin order, and they just like don't talk about the shitty things they used to do, I think. Hydromancer is part of the Royal Army. I don't think they're part of the Iron Fist. The only reason I thought they were part of the Iron Fist is because in that really long Mission 4, when you don't get a hero in Second Human Book, I think you get Hydromancers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're exclusively Iron Fist, because that was around when the factions, like available units to build, started getting kind of intermingled. So I'm not sure. You're probably right. All right, Gerazar Order. I mean, we gotta talk about Gerazar later? Okay. I mean, it seemed like there was a lot of focus put on the fact that they were like an offshoot of the Paladin Order, but they're like just bad dudes. They're like shady MFers, which is probably why Edale so easily broke that one dude's mind and turned him into a slave. Gerazar's gonna go E tier. They're interesting, but they're interesting. So yeah, I think Gerazar goes up to, I don't know. The more I think about it, I'm like, they're kind of mysterious and interesting, so they should go higher, but I think I understand why they exist, which sort of dispels the illusion a little bit. I don't know yet. I'm going to keep them where I originally thought I'd put them. Progdaris is S, not even a question. I agree. Golden Guard. As a faction. Now, I put Reynault in my S tier. I gotta say, I think Golden Guard as a faction is pretty flippin' awesome. Like, I don't want them to win, but I think they get at least a B, and I'd even consider, like, here's the thing. I think Sliced Bread as a tier shouldn't exist, and the I hope they win is the top tier at this point. That's kind of where I'm at. On that. Because looking at this straight away, I can say there's only one in this whole list where I would even consider putting in Sliced Bread, which makes me realize that I think my tiers are just kind of messed up. Where's Sir J. Barbarino's holy forces? I guess Kingdom Paladins are not their own thing here. I guess you could consider them in human kingdoms, but not really, because they're a breakaway of the human kingdoms that ally with Gardon, right? So I would almost consider them part of Golden Guard, like Praxius. And Sir J. Barbarino, of course. Yeah, I'm going to put Golden Guard in B. I really like their faction. I like the way they look. I like the uniqueness of the gameplay usability of them. And, yeah, I'm happy with that. This stream randomly showed up in my feed. What's going on and who are you people? Whew, strap in. We're talking about a Warcraft 3 custom campaign, and we've delved deep. We're making a tier list of characters in a fan project, so you're gonna be confused, buddy. But I appreciate you clicking on the thumbnail. The Knoll Kingdom? Look, woof, first and foremost, but the Knoll Kingdom is straight up, I think they should win. I hope they win. Knoll Kingdom is, they've got, like, a nice little vacation island where, like, if they get nice and settled, they could start charging people to go there for their, like, you know, their holidays and stuff. I think Knoll Kingdom is situated for, like, a really nice economic future. But for real, I think Knoll Kingdom is one of the larger joiners of Tribal Dominion, and also have a really important history with Zhuinor and stuff. I think Grand Gorhal's a pretty neat character as well, and I think that Knoll Kingdom just deserves a win. Woof. Goldex Clan is the one I would put in sliced bread. Just straight up. Goldex Clan gets sliced bread. And it's the only one I'd consider putting there. To be maybe consistent, eventually maybe I would just remove sliced bread and we do it like this. Nah, that's fine. We could show Goldex Clan being up there. The Grey Guard? I think Grey Guard just goes here. I've lost a lot of respect for Blen Greymore. You know, I used to joke about how boring he is. I mean, it was half joke, but half true, because he was always meant to be a blank slate. But with what we learned in Betrayal, where he... I guess I'm a little confused. I'm still a little confused, and I'm not sure, again, how purposefully ambiguous it's left or not. But the fact that he chooses to attack Wolf Regiment is either because he's legitimately paranoid, which I would almost consider to be more justified, versus malice, and then he was just like, you know, fuck Wolf Regiment, I actually hate them so much, let's kill them, versus he was genuinely scared they were there to assassinate him. That's the confusion where I'm not so sure why he chose to attack them. I'm not confused necessarily about the information revealed about him and Zoya. There's clearly meant to be something more to that we don't know yet. So I'm not confused about that. I know it's meant to be ambiguous. But what I am confused about is, and again, maybe we're meant to be confused, is did he choose to attack them because he legitimately thought they were going to kill him? Or was he like, honestly, this whole time, fuck the Wolf Regiment, I hate them, and this is my opportunity to wipe them out? I don't know. Grey Guard, though, is just, you know, their regiment, besides Blend, they don't really have much going on. They don't really have an interesting element to them. So I think we put them in C tier. That's perfectly fine. Where did I put Bull Regiment, by the way? Oh, same as, you know what? For that, I think Grey Guard goes in D. Because Bull Regiment is definitely way more interesting than Grey Guard. And Dragon Regiment goes down here not because they're not interesting, but because... I hate them in Pride of the Empire. All right. The Hammerfall Dwarves. Similar to how I described Zarin in my character tier list, I think the Hammerfall Dwarves are pretty chill, and I think they try to do what is best for themselves, and generally fall into the, you know, like a good sphere of influence when it comes to like a morality tier list. I think for that reason, I would put Hammerfall dwarves decently high, at least C, probably B tier above Bloodstone dwarves. Because Bloodstone dwarves side with Red Fist, Hammerfall siding with Golden Guard at least puts them a step above. I think this is pretty fair. Because even though canonically they're going to be our enemy, I think that the dwarves in general have gotten a bad shake because they've been manipulated by the undead pretty much for their whole existence of trying to, you know, spread their influence. Don't get me started about the one Hammerfall dwarf that's in possession who is like the tankiest hero that's ever existed. We're going to purge him from our memory and let Hammerfall's dwarves sit healthily in B. Iron Fist, I think it's a straight up, I hope they win. Iron Fist is a morally gray faction, but they just got some really cool new skins. They look awesome. They have a really unique tech. I like how eventually I noticed Comb isn't in here. Like, Comb could be considered human kingdoms, but they're basically Iron Fist. Like, your cavalry gets replaced with the Knights of Comb. You, instead of Destructors, you get Black Dragons. I think the reason I really like Iron Fist is because they're just really unique, and they have unique goals as well. And I think for that reason, they get placed quite high. My favorite thing about Corridon is he's 100% fair. He has normal stats, normal items, and player usable abilities. I think the reason he's insane is because he's got the abilities the passives that reduce the amount of incoming damage. How do you even play custom campaigns on Reforged anymore? I have a separate classic version of the game. You can use your CD key to download an older version of the game. So I have a Reforged version and I have a classic version. Excuse me. Iron Thunder, I hope they win. The chillest of the Orc clans. I love seeing Bloodhand clan and I hope they win. Like, minus the Destroyer, Bloodhand goes like here. But with the Destroyer on his trajectory of being super wildcard element, he gets an I hope they win. Iron Thunder Clan goes in I hope they win because I think Lokar and the direction he takes purple orcs in is solid. He's the voice of reason when Dark Mind goes off the flippin' rails. And yeah, there's really not much else to say. I just really like them. I think they also have a really cool tech tree where it's mostly caster focused. They're insanely strong. By the way, in Rise of the Clans, Lokar says, "I'll go easy on you," and then proceeds to be the hardest enemy you've ever faced up until that point in the campaign. Excuse me. Hate Iron Thunder Clan. The High Shamans are annoying. Yeah, to play against them is a nightmare. For sure. The Khazar Nexus. Correct me if I'm wrong, you technically only play as Khazar once in the second Undead Book mission, and it only has 2 unique units. Now, they're really good, especially because those frontliners get 2 different HP upgrades. I just don't think the Khazar Nexus has had enough expanded on what their tech tree could be like. And in terms of the story, I think Ornasian didn't quite shine enough yet because of the time that we've gotten with him in second Undead Book. I think he's on the road to possibly being one of my most liked characters, but I'm on the fence because I feel like I don't quite know enough yet. So Khazar probably goes here. The Human Kingdoms. Broad. probably... I mean, I think they're less of a mess than the Empire for sure. So at least a C, I'd consider kicking them up. Ornasian has no chance to win J over because of the Destroyer moniker. Kazara's S because they have the edginess of both demons and undead. I think that once we get more into the second books, inevitably I think Kazara's probably going to inch up and up and up the more that their tech tree is expounded on. But right now, again, I can only think of 2 unique units that they've got, which isn't quite enough. The Mogtar clans. They've been removed from Rise of the Clans, thank goodness, because those red dragons, man. I assume they're going to come back for the ogre missions in the second book's period of True Story, but I don't know. Mogtar clans, though, like, F them. I hate them. Get them out of here. Just straight up evil. Not particularly unique. They're basically reskinned fel orcs, right? Get them out of here. Phoenix Regiment. Mysterious. Interesting, but not nearly as difficult as the Dragon Regiment. I think Phoenix Regiment probably goes in this range. And there's also something going on with their leader where we don't know what's going on with him. Maybe he's an Arcanian, or maybe he's undead, or maybe he's a servant of Brian. Maybe he's a servant of the Dark One. We don't know. But something weird's going on with him. Magical in nature. I think Ravaging Fire probably lands right in here with Death Breeze. And again, I don't like that I'm putting these, like, these are considered C tier. Because when you think of C tier, you think, like, they passed, but not really. I think that my D tier is the C tier, and my C tier is the B tier, etc., etc. It's kind of how I would shove all of these up. I don't know. Goldex Clan, though, does get just a little bit higher. Because capitalism, baby. Sermac. I'm old! Red Fist. Yo. This is tough. I worked really hard with the idea that was posed to me when I did the character tier list, where Red Fist is someone where, like, he's either F or sliced bread. Like, there's no in-between. The faction, though, I think legitimately gets boosted. Because the faction is awesome. It sucks to play against. So from that perspective, it's kind of like Dragon Regiment, where I think the faction is really cool and interesting, but I hate them. But Red Fist, I think, legitimately goes higher, just because I think narratively they're also really important. Whereas Dragon Regiment is Dragon Regiment. Red Fist has that coolness element to it, but is also incredibly important, and they are, like, hyper-focused on what they do. They cannot be possessed, and they cannot be controlled by either the demons or the undead, because they're that mad. And I think that's pretty awesome. So, I don't hope they win, but I think Red Fist goes in B. But they also are, like, objectively bad people, I think. Red Fist is similar to, like, Darkmind Clan, but it has the extra coolness factor, where, like, they've let revenge completely consume them. But rather than, like... It's funny, because the outcome is the same. Red Fist faction gets completely wiped out, I think. In second Orc book, there's, like, a lieutenant that takes over, and the implication is, like, there's still, like, a reserve of Red Fist troops that are going to go on to do something else. But they're so hyper-focused on killing the orcs that it makes them super unique. Again, they're, like, so mad that they're so mad that they could do anything. But, like, even beyond Darkmind Clan. They're more unique than the Darkmind Clan. They let revenge consume them, so usually that would bump them down a little bit, because I sort of hate that idea. But they're just so flippin' cool. They're like... we have Darkmind and Dragon kind of low here, but they both have elements that, when combined, bump them up where Red Fist is now, I think. Or I would say when you combine the coolness of Dragon and the pure, unadulterated hate and rage of Darkmind, if you put those together, you get Red Fist and they go higher. Retka's rebellion? Please. Do we even need to speak about this? In a way, I sort of just feel bad. Like, you kill hundreds, thousands of like lowly, poorly armed peasants. Thousands of them. And I just sort of feel bad for those people. All because there was like a manufactured rebellion to kill Gardon. It wasn't the implication that Van Doors purposefully whipped them up into a frenzy and like got Retka into the to rebel in order to eventually lure Gardon to his death. I'm sure we're gonna find out that the undead had a hand in that too, but that's part of the second undead book we never really got to see. But like, it seemed like Rahandir was involved in that somehow as well, and Edoras. I don't remember though. The Rohirrim Nexus, I think, is legit one of the better Nexuses. I think this one gets a B tier. You're probably not going to see an I hope they win for an undead faction, to be honest. Actually, no, I take that back. We'll revisit that. But I like Rohirrim Nexus. I think it's got the uniqueness factor and is not torture porn undead faction, right? So, I think Rohirrim gets a B. We've never gotten to fully play with Rohirrim, or do we in the last playable second undead book mission? Is that Rohirrim Nexus, or is that Skerrick? I remember you get Lady Maya in that map, so I assume that one is Rohirrim Nexus. And you've had Rohirrim as an ally several times as well. Skerrick Nexus. I think Skerrick Nexus is definitely... The thing is, all of the undead Nexuses are really unique. They have really cool tech trees that are all really distinct from one another. And I think Skerrick is one of the better ones. But also, isn't the Skerrick Nexus, like... Of all of the undead factions, they're, like, on a zealous crusade to just kill everything, right? Like, undead is the way, you must die, you must be a skeleton. So that's a little scary. So like on one hand, my initial thought was to put them here, but they're pretty messed up. So they're pretty messed up. I think for the same reason we put Ardaz where they went, we put them here. Even undead with flesh are heretical to them. So yeah, it's to continue my own crusade against the Bone Lord, Skerrick Nexus gets a D. Skullblade is pretty awesome. I would not put these in the I hope they win per se, if only because, well, the thing is, if I put them here, obviously my pro-orc bias is showing. The thing is also, I have to put myself in the mindset of, like, if we're just in true story canon, we haven't experienced the second books yet. Like, I view everything about the orcs as, like, the potential where I know they can go in creating the tribal dominion. So for that reason, I'm like, oh yeah, all the clans, they get to be super high because I know that they're all gonna be awesome. But they're not awesome yet. They're not. So for that reason, like, I should probably, like, scale it back a little bit, but even still, pretty much all my orc clans are C or above, which is not very fair. Actually, Darkmind's down in D, where they belong. I would put probably Skullblade here. I don't know why I even need to bother being so obsessed with, like, being fair. Like, if I like them, I like them, and I've played all of the Arkain material that exists, so, like, I know how the second orc book goes, and I'm going to judge things based on that, you know? The Soul Eater Legion. Where do we put Blood Drinker? In D's, because I don't really see these as different. You know? I don't really see Soul Eater being much different than Blood Drinker. They're a little sneakier, but, like, they're bad guys. I mean, that's a stretch, but, like, realistically, they're bad guys. Like, even if they have some sort of justified rage and purpose, that doesn't mean they're not bad guys for, doing what they do. Hang on. Excuse me. Been talking a lot. Allergies. You did not play at all, Jay? First mission of Act 5 and all. Well, I saw what mission it is. Unless you changed it a lot, then yeah. I guess technically I haven't. I did watch the interlude, though. Okay. Splesser Nexus is OG Eridon Nexus. They do get the cool Frost Revenants and Frost Ghosts. I would probably put Splesser in just like a solid C. Yeah, I think Splesser is fine. They're probably the most bland of the undead factions, though, just because they don't really have that flair to them, besides the Spirit Legionnaires, I suppose. The Stone Lord Dwarves? I don't really know the lore of the dwarves. I think that... of the Stone Lord Dwarves, I should say. Not as much as Bloodstone, and not as much as Hammerfall. And the only mission that I can recall you using them, or fighting against them, is Possession, which... And that specific side objective is low-key, no joke, one of the, if not the hardest things to do in all of the released True Story content at this point. So we're going to put Stone Lord Dwarves in the E category. Splesser can build Life Scorchers? Can they? I don't think... Well, not in... I actually spoke to Char about this. I think Life Scorchers, I think, are awesome, but you can't build them in Bloodbath. Veterans of the Void War? Wait, weren't we talk? Oh, we talked about Veterans of the Void War with Demon Slaves. Are these not the same, basically? Or are there veterans... have all the Veterans of the Void War taken the same pact as Genethys? Or do they just follow Genethys because he's the leader, you know? We'll leave them here and we'll ask Shar later. Wolf Regiment, I think, is pretty sweet. Not a fan of Zoya, per se. Again, we may find out that she is justifiably hating Blen. But we'll put... I think I'm going to put her here, because I actually really like the faction, too. I think it's really cool and unique. And then the Xernexus... Look, this is going to be weird. But I think Xernexus legit goes in the I hope they win, because the Xernexus... Separate of being undead, which in general I have a lower opinion of the undead nexuses, but the Xernexus, number one, I think is the... I was going to say the most unique, but it's not. It's hard to say. They have a lot of really cool and unique casters. The playstyle is really different than the other undead factions. Like Ajara and Ardoz, they have these really cool, visually distinct units, but they're, you know, they're big monstrosities. You A-click them into units, whereas the Xernexus is very caster-focused, and the playstyle is different. But then separately, they're like the keepers of ancient knowledge. So I think narratively, like canonically, I don't want them to lose. I think the Xernexus has a lot of history that could be shared, and for that reason, I think that while the Xernexus serves Eridon, who I think is a dummy, Xernexus can go high up if I treat it completely separate relative to the other factions. Okay. Now we're gonna do the unthinkable, and I've dragged Shar into Team Dream Team, where you're gonna have to mute the stream, by the way.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, what we want to talk about?
Okay, I'll start with the burning question that I brought up. Is
Okay.
Blen Greymore. My question was, if you feel comfortable revealing this, or if it's meant to be still ambiguous.
You just ask me. Ask me what you want.
Okay. Does he attack the Wolf Regiment because he's legitimately paranoid they're gonna assassinate him, or because he just hates them and has like a separate reason for doing it and then uses the paranoia as a justification to do it to his troops?
He is completely paranoid. He actually believes that the forces are there to, kill him.
Okay,
And he's very scared of Zoya, so to speak.
gotcha. Okay, I like the explanation. Veterans of the Void War, are they all demon slaves, or do they just follow Genethys, who made the pact with Ibira?
They followed Genethys because they were his loyal servants, so to speak. But of course, you could also argue that some of them made their own pacts during that betrayal, but not all of them. They stuck with their leader, though.
Gotcha. Okay, so not all of them are made like the pact.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like Genethys made a pact, his soldiers were loyal to him, some were just like him, like, I'm so tired of this shit, and followed him.
Gotcha.
Some made their own pacts to get power or something, and the rest is just stuck with that shit, so to speak.
Gotcha. Someone asked about the fate of Dogran, but I'm going to expand the question. How come all the clans don't have a champion?
The thing is that the Gold Axe clan functions differently from the other clans for obvious reasons, because their chieftain doesn't act himself outside of the clan. Hortnog's like the diplomatic leader, so to speak, and Dogran is the champion, the fighter, so to say.
Gotcha.
The most powerful. The Destroyer used to be the quote-unquote champion, haha, because he has the model of the Blood Drinker clan. And now he took over and he never allowed anyone to take his old place, so to speak.
So, will the Destroyer... Never mind.
Become a hero, yeah.
Will Thanak become a hero?
I'm not answering that either.
Actually, I think some of these are repeats from question time, so I apologize.
Yeah.
So,
no problem. You can ask me what you want. I'd have absolutely.
Do you
no
think
limitation
any of
here.
my placements and justifications for my faction placements were off base? Because I'm missing some information.
I think it's hilarious that Boar Regiment instantly got to Zest here.
Well, they're
That's
it's what I think I said it during Pride of the Empire. I said it was Bear Regiment, but I was actually thinking Boar Regiment. How it felt like they were dogging us through the whole campaign, being these invisible jerks.
Yeah. The Boar Regiment literally exists to make your heart harder, a life harder. So,
Got it.
There's a question in chat about Len's wife. You'll find out eventually.
Nice. Did I get all my nexuses correct?
Let me check again. Poor Ardos next. I thought you liked Galareth so much because he does so much shit.
Well, I do like Galareth, but I think he's insane and does some terrible things.
I mean, he is. I mean, it's the mind of an ogre and the mind of a human combined into a single body and a single mind as well.
Yeah.
So he's bound to be insane.
I appreciate the Ardos Nexus, but I think relative to how I placed all the other factions for the other reasons that I did, I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Makes sense. I still love the fact that Gold but next we are at Undead. I'm not going to talk about the Gold X clan yet. Yeah, I think it's pretty funny that Cyrenexes, I hope they win. The thing about, I'm just going to starting from the top and then we'll work down to the bottom, I think. That's the best way to go. Cyrenexes is the Keepers of Knowledge, as you already said, so I think you got that right with I hope they win, because if they lose, I mean, if there's a situation they could lose, all the knowledge they have gathered would either be destroyed because, well, they would have to destroy it, or someone else would get their hand on it.
Mm-hmm.
Which would not be good, because they have knowledge in there that even Eridon forgot about partially.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think it's an early spoiler, but yeah, there's knowledge in there that even Eridon doesn't know about. And that's all I'm saying about it.
Are there any heroes that are associated with Xernexus?
Yeah, this guy's name is Tremolon. He hasn't appeared yet.
Okay.
He's one of the rest, so to speak.
Do you think I'm too biased towards the orc clans that I've all placed very high?
Yes.
Which ones deserve to be lower?
I think it's funny that
Actually, looking at this now, Black Razor does not need to be B tier.
Yeah, Black Razor is probably a bit too high. Then again, I think they're associated with the Bloodhand clan, and you love the Destroyer so much, so I guess it makes sense.
True. I'm nervous about the Destroyer because I feel like I'm putting my heart on my sleeve, and then when something terrible happens, it's all gonna come crashing down.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you, but I have long decided what's going to be his fate a long time ago, long before I knew how much you would grew to love him.
Gotcha.
So if whatever happens to him, it's not your fault.
Okay. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. Skullblade Blank should be higher up because of Gorfog, but I think that's fine where it is, honestly.
Yeah, you know what? Looking at this, I think I would switch... No, never mind. I was going to say switch him and Iron Thunder Clan, but I like where Iron Thunder Clan goes.
I mean, it makes sense for them to be that high, and I mean, it's fair, I think. The thing is, Skullblade Clan is the one clan that doesn't need to raid at least for food or something. Because, well, they just don't need it. They are actually the only orcs capable of making their own food.
Do you think there's a reason that, well, it's funny to say, do you think, like you literally made all this. Is Skullblade Clan, is there any, like, is Gorthog just like bros with Wrangle now, or was he just subjugated and still follows sort of begrudgingly?
It's more of a mix of the two. Like, he doesn't love Wrangle, so to speak, because, I mean, he would have tried the same thing that Wrangle tried, but at the same time he respects Wrangle and everything for being able to unite the clan still. He doesn't hate him, so to speak, so he follows him not begrudgingly, though, because he actually believes in his cause.
Gotcha.
You could say. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
I expected Ravaging Fire Clan to be lower, by the way.
I think maybe as a faction... Yeah, you know what? When you say it like that, I do think they should be lower, because they don't have any unique units, right? I guess Necrolite?
The Necrolite is a Ravaging Fire Clan unit, and they also have another caster that's not accessible to you. Just like the Life Scorcher, Jay.
So I guess why do you think Ravaging Fire should be lower then?
I wouldn't say that I think he should be lower. It's more like I would have expected you to put him lower, because Ravaging Fire Clan is still a bit more, I almost want to say traditional, but at the same time not really, because Cermak is so different from most other chieftains, but at the same time he doesn't really like humans that much. That's
True.
Basic. And because he wasn't really a fan of what Vanessa did, that's why I expected you to put him lower, but I have absolutely no personal problem with them being where they are.
I think this is another victim of where, because I know where it's going, he goes higher. But it's like, it's not really fair, because not every faction gets that same benefit.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, who knows? Garazar could be straight up sliced bread. I don't know yet, though, so...
Oh yeah, that's something I wanted to speak about. That's right, good that you mentioned them, actually. The thing is, with everything about the slavers that you mentioned, that was the knight. That was just this one paladin, so to speak, who was a former slaver and all that.
Oh, so it's not the whole order. It's just him.
The thing is, the order has many dark secrets that have not been revealed at this point.
Okay.
The thing is, it's more like where they came from. They're not a traditional paladin order, so to speak, because they started everything. They were originally working as mercenaries for the enemies of the Empire for a long time, until they at some point got conquered by the Empire, like the entire continent.
Wait, sorry, I was reading chat for like a half second there and I missed. So you said that they're not Imperials. They were part of normal paladins that were absorbed into...
They are Imperials. They come from the same continent.
Okay, gotcha.
But the Empire hasn't always been united, so to speak, because someone had to build the Empire from something.
Sure.
And that's how it started for them.
Okay.
It started, they were working for the enemies of Empire for a very, very long time. Always did some shady stuff. and eventually they got conquered.
Got it.
The thing is, the Empire Paladins as a whole work not exactly like the ones in the Kingdoms. Because they're a bit different. They tend to be a bit... They're not. It doesn't mean that they are all evil or something. I mean, Praxius is without a doubt a good guy, or at least not a bad guy, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
But many paladins in the Empire tend to be a bit more morally different from the Kingdom ones, so to speak.
Well, so he basically got his mind wiped, right? So he's like an Edale lieutenant now.
Chevron is completely under Edale's control now, yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that the whole order is.
No, the whole. But I mean, she could control parts of the order through him, so to speak. The order still exists.
Okay, that's kind of how I interpreted it. Great. Okay. Let's see. Are Bear Regiment and Dragon Regiment completely gone?
Regiment, yes. Dragon Regiment, no.
Got it. But Ramirez.
I don't know if you remember it. What?
But Ramirez is dead.
Ramirez is dead, yeah, but his regiment isn't gone. If you maybe remember from the most loved mission of the second Orc book, where you had to escape.
Oh.
With Cermak and Grofzak.
Where I won with like 2 units left, yeah.
It was a Dragon Regiment you fought there.
Got it.
They still exist.
Okay. Got it. Did I miss any missions where you get more Khazar Nexus units?
I mean, in theory, you could argue that you control the Khazar Nexus all the time. Not all the time, but in the underground missions, all the time. Yeah, all in the underground.
Oh, that makes sense. I guess you're making Dark Elves when you're down there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, the undead you had were the Khazar Nexus.
Okay.
But I can't talk anymore. The Skaric Nexus is your favorite Nexus, isn't it?
Skeletons?
What?
Yeah.
The Skaric Nexus is... I call them Skaric, by the way.
Skaric,
I guess
okay.
both's fine, though. Skaric. I think it's more like... if you look at them, they actually would... They've one Nexus that would actively wage war against the rest if they weren't all under Eredon's control, because they... Especially the Rohirrim Nexus, they really hate the Rohirrim Nexus.
I guess that makes sense, because Rohirrim's mostly, not skeletons, because they're undercover spooky guys.
Yeah. The Scarrick is all about purity of the bone, so to speak. I mean, they have literal churches and cathedrals and stuff like that. They're like it's an actual religion for them.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I have any other specific questions, but I guess I'm happy to hear your feedback on any of these placements.
Yeah. Personally, I think it's a... I mean, you didn't really surprise me, so to speak. The Stone Lord was your favorite orc faction. Yeah, exactly. Your favorite dwarf faction. Yeah, I think it's very interesting what you put here, and I will keep it in mind. I don't have any disagreements personally.
Okay.
I did expect you to put Veterans of the Void were a bit slyer because of Jennifer's, because you put him so high for his mind games.
Just him, though. Yeah. And that was oh gosh, that was a meme though, like putting him that high. So him and Larrig, like that's entertainment purposes, okay?
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, especially because the one mission where you play along with Genethys was removed. That's probably why they go really low now as well.
Yeah.
And they were removed from Wolf and Bull.
Yeah, that's also a thing. They got way less screen time this time around because I replaced them with factions that I felt like were more fitting. I think for a moment there's something we wanted to talk about. I think Zoya and Glenn is something we wanted to talk about, right? You asked me about the paranoia thing.
Well, yeah, that's why, again, it sounds like there's clearly supposed to be something that is meant to be revealed later, so it just depends on how much you'd want to reveal about it now.
I'm just saying that she really, 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 really doesn't like him.
Okay. So, that's why I was what... The reason that I asked the question the way that I did is I thought, like, I wonder if he actually hates her more, and that's why like he's like, we gotta kill him, and this is my excuse. But it turns out it's exactly how it's portrayed, which is good to know. I guess as like a guess, he probably like killed his wife, whether it was an accident or purposeful, and so like Blenn's probably a worse dude for that we didn't know about, and so she hates him, and he's like, if you did that, you'd probably think, okay, well, Zoya probably wants to kill me now, so it makes sense that he'd be paranoid about it.
Yeah. But I'm not, that's not something I'm not going to reveal just yet.
I figure, yeah.
For obvious reasons.
And that was an interesting change, too, because originally on that map, the Wolf Regiment wasn't even there, and you decided to add them in a second version of it.
Yeah, exactly. The demons didn't fit in there, and I thought it was time to put in the Wolf Regiment a bit more. It escalates that conflict, so to say.
Yeah.
It also makes sense for future things that are going to happen.
Gotcha.
I don't think that's a spoiler.
Somebody asked, did the Black Razor clan get completely destroyed or subjugated by the Destroyer?
They got either the ones that were willing to follow the Destroyer got the chance to follow the Destroyer into the Bloodhound clan. The remnants of the Black Razor clan, that's the reason why the clan is even on the list, serve under Ishzog now. Like his loyal followers, the ones that had no part in the entire bullshit that the Black Razor did.
Gotcha. Okay. So, functionally they're gone, but there's a small group of them that are
exactly.
Kind of like cultists, almost?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a fair assessment, yeah.
Cool.
There's still very close ties with the Bloodhound clan, for obvious reasons, though.
Dude, see, you get hundreds of questions for question time, and there's always more. There can always be more.
Yeah. Let's see if we get to 1,000.
Next time.
Yeah, exactly.
When will Act 5 be done?
I don't know. I'm saying this now because I think I said it in the forums, but not everyone's following forums. I'm not going to finish any more chapters until mid-March because I'm busy.
Okay.
I already told you, so you can have some other stuff to play until you can return to your beloved Arkain again.
I gotta be able to play some other stuff. The thing is, when I see that an act is about to be released, I'm like, I can't, I have to like time it. I'm like, I don't want to start something brand new when I know a new act's about to drop, because it's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to like put on the interlude and the first chapter as a tease or something.
No. I'll put that in with the. Well, I guess I'll ask your opinion. It depends on like how long the intros are meant to be, and like, because sometimes I'll make it a separate video, but it depends on if they're really long. I might want to do them separate. But that one I think is fine. The interlude is an edited version of the original prologue of the second arc book. Okay. It's longer, but not that long to justify its own video, I don't think. Cool.
Actually, let me check. Give me a moment. There's a way of checking it out. It's like 9 to 10 minutes, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I don't mind long cinematics. It's just I like to be able to plan my videos a little bit, so that's good to know.
Yeah. Actually, hang on, it's 10 minutes? What the fuck? You should have seen my reaction when I watched the beginning of Pride of the Empire. I was like, oh yeah, that's how long I made the intro of that mission.
Yeah, I think I private messaged you to this, but it's something I would tell the audience in general also, is I think that you have to earn long narrative stretches, and like you obviously have after the amount of connections you've made with players in this campaign. I think if you
it's still skippable.
Yeah, they're all skippable as well. But yeah, if you start you make a new campaign, you say, I wanted this to be narrative focused, it's probably best to kind of ease into it. Yeah. And Arkain definitely does that. And then eventually you kind of get a fan base that really wants to know more, and you're happy that you're getting that constant narrative flow. But some of these, man, I've played other projects where they're just, 15, 20 minute long cinematics, and it's, come on.
be over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Well-
back to a factionless. I'm not sure if there's anything to add, honestly.
Yeah, I'm happy with how this turned out. I don't think this is going to be as as spiced as my character tier list, but we'll definitely revisit the character tier list once we get more acts for sure.
Yeah. How can you not hope with Arkain families to win, Jay?
You know what? We'll see what happens to Destroyer. That could always change my ranking for Destroyer too. You never know. The unthinkable could happen.
Changing his fate so that you put him lower on the tier list.
He gets. It's like the end cinematic of second Orc book where everybody's in like a kumbaya circle, and then he just kills Amare, and he's like, "By the way, I run the shit now." So, I'll take your silences. Yeah.
There's a short story that has Amari as the leader of the Dominion. There's no way that happens, Jay. Come on.
Yeah. I've read a lot of those, to be fair. I just don't remember a lot of them.
That reminds me, I still have to put something together that we talked about some time ago in members chat.
I'm drawing a blank. I don't know what.
The Jeopardy.
Oh! Oh gosh. That would be fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Destroyer joins Boar Regiment? Pie Scythe, how dare you?
You know, that's actually a good idea. He likes hunting, right?
Oh no. Well, I appreciate you joining me. I think I'm going to go ahead and move on to some XCOM, but this was a blast.
Fun. Yeah, it was very fun to be here. By the way, I think you have to remove and re-add me or something so I have access to Team Dream Team again.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, didn't we used to... I thought we used to...
Yeah, the thing is, I left Discord for a while, your channel for a while, for a month or two. And I think after I returned, I didn't have access anymore. I think that's the reason, because I lost my roles and everything. Maybe you have to remove and re-add me so it works again.
Oh, you know what it is? I just didn't give your individual account connected speaking access to it.
Okay.
Here, let me kick you out, and then try and rejoin really quick.
I think I can rejoin now.
It's just that easy.
Wow, cool.
My fault.
So we can play again.
Yep. Hey, we can go back and play Insanity difficulty of, what's it called?
I'm up for it if you're up for it, but I'm not sure if you want to go through that again.
The two-player spoon campaigns, yeah.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Or some other co-op stuff, I would know.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off, but it's nice talking to you. Enjoy your time off, or whatever you're doing, and...
I wish I was time off, it's not.
Well, be well, and we'll see you in March time.
Yep. See you around.
Take it easy.
Bye, everyone. Have a nice stream.
Thank you. How did the call go? Discord asks. I'll give it a big smiley face. Not only because the call quality was good, but because I always enjoy speaking with my friend Shar Dundred.